Welcome to the first edition of Mike's Mechanics. I got Mike Stanton here, and we're going to talk about Miguel Ullola and what the big league pitcher Mike Stanton has to say about this rising star.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
That's right, and we are back to the bullpen. We are actually here on a non-live recorded session of the first ever Mike's Mechanics.
Yeah.
Mike, thanks for joining me. This is something that I've been thinking about for a while. With your expertise, with your prowess. For those that may be coming to our station for the first time and may not know all the things about Mike Stanton, just give us a little bit of your background in Major League Baseball.
Oh goodness, I knew you were going to put me on the spot because I tell some stories when we do our podcast, but I really don't talk that much about myself. I played for 19 seasons. I'm second all time in appearances in Major League Baseball. I'm a one-time All-Star. I was a reliever all of my career except for one start back in 1999. And, what I do on the side when I'm not broadcasting, I do a lot of coaching also. So, this is going to be fun because this is something that I do on a daily basis, which is talking pitching, talking baseball. But now we're going to do it. We're going to break it down a little bit more. And so, hey, I got my baseball. Let's get this party started.
I love it. So Miguel Ullola was tabbed last month's basically upper division player, pitcher of the month right now overall in 2025. He's got a 3.62 ERA. 54 innings pitched, 68 strikeouts, a 150 whip. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at just about a minute long loop of his pitches and what he does.
Yeah.
And so let's go ahead and look at this, and you can kind of begin the conversation. And then when we come back, we can talk about some things and then go back into the film and look at it. But here's some examples of Miguel Ullola if you haven't had the opportunity to watch him, because he is in AAA. I mean, he's not a AA, he's not a high A, he's in AAA. He is on the cusp. He's 20 minutes down the road, kids.
And this is one of the Astros' top prospects. Like you said, he was the Astros pitcher of the month of, I think, was it May or June?
Yes.
It was May.
Yes.
And so, we want to take a look at what the Astros have coming down the pike. And Miguel is definitely one of these guys. Now, let's go ahead and start the video. And what we're going to see is a big guy, a very athletic pitcher. You can see he's in good shape. He's got a very fast arm. I like his delivery. His delivery is not like really stressful or anything like that. It's pretty free and easy. I really like the tempo in which he pitches. He does not rush down the hill. And as far as the stuff, listen, he's got a high velocity fastball. It's not an elite fastball. He's not throwing 100 miles an hour, but he is mid to high 90s with really good life at the top of the zone. And life meaning the ball just doesn't drop. Okay. And that is something. So he pitches a lot. You're going to watch a lot of these pitches are going to be up in the zone. And that's where a lot of pitchers throw now, because hitters are really good at addressing pitches in the bottom part of the zone. That's kind of where their natural swing path is. So seeing pitches at even high breaking balls is something that happens quite often. All you got to do is watch a big league game, watch an Astros game, and you can see how many times pitchers are throwing up in the zone. That's because those pitches are harder to hit. And with Miguel, he's done some work on his slider. His slider has definitely become a really good pitch for him. He's got a curveball that's kind of inconsistent. Same with the changeup. I wouldn't, if I were his pitching coach, I wouldn't worry so much about the curveball. I would develop the changeup. So he's got the slider going one way, he's got the curveball going, or the slider going one way, and the changeup going the other, and then you have the high fastball. But what's a young pitcher's number one issue, especially a guy that's got good stuff like Miguel? It's going to be throwing strikes. I mean, in his numbers, you mentioned he's got a 1.5 whip. Well, he doesn't give up a whole lot of hits. The problem is in his, I think it's 54 or 56 innings, he's got 40 walks.
Yeah.
So that's something that just isn't going to work at the big league level. You cannot put guys on via the base on balls at that high a rate and expect to be successful. But there has been some talk about how a Brian Abreu type situation. Is this a guy that's going to be able to stay in the starting rotation? Could be, but he's going to have to throw strikes. And tell you the truth, if you're going to go to the back end of the bullpen, you're going to have to throw strikes even more. So if he can get command of really the fastball, because if you can put the fastball where you want to put the fastball, then all of a sudden the other stuff becomes even that much more effective. But, a high upside, 23 years old, big dude, athletic, big upside, but he's going to have to figure out how to put the ball in the zone a little bit more.
It reminds me, of course, I'm not saying that Hunter Brown and him are the same pitcher, but they have the same issue. Hunter Brown had the ability to fill up the zone, but he was walking too many batters. And really, I think the blessing wasn't the curse. A lot of people were like, why isn't he getting called up? And I remember in 22, and I've talked about it probably ad nauseum. I understand the kid's mentality. He has that bulldog mentality, Mike. When he got elected to the Futures game, I congratulated him. And his first response was, I appreciate it, but I want to be on that mound helping the Astros win a World Series. And he did that year. And so it took them a late season call up. And what I loved about Hunter Brown is he didn't, he came up and he knew his place. He had all the guys around him. Verlander, he had all the veterans around him. And they were like, we need you in the bullpen. And what did he do? He went to the bullpen.
Sure.
Miguel Ullola may not be a guy that gets called up right now. I know they have a lot of pitchers coming back, but he is a guy that really in a September call-up, if you need him, is not a bad idea, Mike, because going into the playoffs,
sure,
you would love to put a pitcher that has stuff to go against hitters that haven't seen him, because the unfamiliarity in the playoffs, I think, is kind of a little bit of a secret weapon. Yeah. Do you think that he has that possibility this year? Again, I'm not saying he's Hunter Brown, but that's kind of the trek I see him taking because of the control issues.
It could be. I mean, he doesn't have the power stuff that Hunter did, even when he came up. I mean, Hunter's got some of the best stuff in Major League Baseball right now. He's got one of the highest average fastball velocities in Major League Baseball. We're not going to get that from Miguel. Okay. Miguel throws hard, but it's not one of those situations that the velocity is just stifling, that the big league hitters aren't going to be able to catch up to it. He's going to have to do a little bit more pitching. And what I mean by that is moving the ball around, having the ability to hit your spots, not just those strikes, and then command your off-speed stuff. But he's 23 years old. I mean, we're not talking about a guy that's even in his mid-20s yet. So he's got plenty of time to advance what's in his career. But he's going to have to be able to throw strikes. He's going to have to be able to put the ball where he wants to, because big league hitters, the difference between AAA and the big leagues is, how hard your mistakes get hit. In AAA, they may get hit hard. In the big leagues, well, sometimes mistakes end up going out of the ballpark. So I think he's got a high upside. This definitely could be a situation that it's a September call-up. I like the idea that they're leaving him in the rotation right now, even if ultimately they're looking at him as a reliever, because what he needs right now more than anything else is just repetition. He needs to be out there on the mound throwing his pitches and learning how to calm his brain so that he can realize what he's trying to do as far as an approach, because that's one thing we know the Astros are big at, is their ability to use their data, to use their analytics, And they use it some in AAA, but that's not nearly what they do in the big leagues. But you have to know where the ball's going. You can have all the data in the world,
Right.
that if you don't know where the ball's going, you can have the right approach, but if you can't hit the spot, well, it's not going to be successful.
Because if he can bring these walks down, also I was looking at his ground ball outs to, fly ball outs, and he's not a heavy ground ball pitcher.
Yeah.
Which that's Framber Valdez's calling card is,
and Hunter is
and Hunter. Yeah. Right. And what was the thing that always bit Justin Verlander? As great as he was a fly ball pitcher.
Right.
So every once in a while, someone's going to catch one on the front end of the plate. And like you said, ball comes at you hard, ball flies out of the park a lot harder. And that's the thing. When you make mistakes, hitters hit. And so this guy, like you said, I like his trajectory, because there is no, it would be different if this club was like, okay, we've got to bring Ullola up now. We've got to rush him up. And it allows them to fine tune his mechanics. And, you could see when Hunter Brown was struggling, I got to see him pitch several times in Sugar Land, and you could tell when he was dialed in, and you could tell when he was struggling. And then fast forward to today, when Hunter Brown gets upset about something, he just gets behind the baseball and throws 99, 98 and strikes a guy out. So he has that fortified mental mentality. And I think that Ullola exudes confidence on the mound as well. Despite the high walk rate, he still deals. And so I think at a young age, I think going through the ups and the downs and being in the PCL is really trial by fire, Mike, because they are in a lot of times in hitters' ballparks. They're in high altitude. Yeah. And so when a guy has a 4 ERA, you're freaking out in the majors, but in the PCL, you're like, okay. So he's got a 3.62, and that's trekking right where you want your guys to trek.
Which is very good. And yes, is he going to be a fly ball pitcher? Is he going to be a ground ball pitcher? You don't really know yet until he gets command of those pitches, and then you'll figure it out. I mean, because to tell you the truth, when you look at what Hunter Brown does, you really wouldn't expect him to be a ground ball pitcher, but he is. I mean, that's just what the data tells you. What you're really looking for is outs. You're looking for weak contact. I mean, that's what ultimately a big league pitcher or a pitcher is looking to do. It's not strike everybody out. It's create weak contact. And in order to do that, you have to know where the ball's going. You have to be able to, and if you know where the ball's going, now you can use the analytics. But, I think the upside here is plenty high enough. Now, what do the Astros need? Going into the second half of this season, we know they need probably some offensive help, and usually in general terms, how trades work, you don't usually trade hitters for hitters and pitchers for pitchers. A lot of times you trade, the hitters are trade for pitchers and the pitchers are trade for hitters. And so, is this an arm that will ultimately be in an Astros uniform here in Houston? Possibly. But there's another way to support your big league staff and your big league team. And that's unfortunately sometimes by being trade bait.
Yeah, exactly. And especially with the recent news of Yordan Alvarez being completely shut down, much to the chagrin of Astros fans.
Golly,
and I'm sure
we just got the report that he may play this weekend, and then
then psych, I mean, I just
pull that rug right out from underneath.
I was flabbergasted, to say the least. But you and I talked before we started recording. Not just you, not just me, but a lot of people were like, he had the hand issue in spring training. I like, this has got to go back to spring training. And Mike, I mean, sometimes are the players playing through pain and not saying anything? Because I feel like they are.
Oh, of course. Every single day.
Right.
I mean, I've always said, when a pitcher goes out there, it doesn't matter. An outfielder goes to the outfield. You're only feeling your best every once in a while. I mean, you're very, there's always something. My knee hurts, my back hurts.
Well, it's the grind of 162.
It is. And it's the grind of putting your body through the physical tolls that you do to play a professional sport. The reason football is only played once a week is because you have the whole rest of the week to recover from that once. And baseball, doing it every single day, you're playing with aches and pains. And it's something that, that, players have to figure out, how am I playing with pain or am I playing with an injury? And sometimes it's very hard to tell. Sometimes it's impossible to tell.
Well, and that's why it's amazing, because you played with Cal Ripken, and I believe, wasn't the All-Star game that you played in, was that Cal Ripken, or was it Jeter's last All-Star game?
Oh, no. It was Jeter was in his heyday.
Okay.
Actually, Jeter was still pretty young. It was 2001. No, it was Cal's last. It was Cal's last All-Star game, his last year, and he ends up in Cal Ripken form. He ends up hitting a home run in the game. But yeah, I mean, that's why, him, getting the all-time, consecutive games record,
Right.
Beating Lou Gehrig, how that was so incredible. What he did was because there was never an off day. There was never a time, you know what, man, my hamstring is really killing me today, I'm going to take today off. No, dude played forever.
Because rest days are a thing, and I remember listening to Craig.
Especially now. So, to tell you the truth, they have more. Go through how many different lineups the Astros have. Go through how many, and the reason you have different lineups is because you have different people in the lineup. Yes, you move them around also, but the Astros have always said, listen, nobody's playing 162. Well, they also have 10 more off days they did a decade ago. We used to have 10 off days all the way through the summer.
And that's it.
Now they have 20 off days all the way through the summer. And then you put, the idea that we're going to give everyone extra days off. You can understand,
right,
the importance of that recovery time.
Well, just like, load management, you and I have talked about that. Going throughout. And we'll kind of wrap it up on this, because we are sitting here talking about Jordan. Alex Bregman, former Astro, is working out. And I don't know if anybody's noticed on the footage, he's wearing a vest. That vest is reading all his biometrics. And Biggio even talked about it, how when he was watching the Blue Jays, George Springer was wearing a vest. And when that started registering yellow to red, they were like, he's getting off day. I mean, and so they are literally looking at everything biometrically, that, exertion of the body, stressful innings, things like that. Because he said, George Springer could hit a triple, a home run, make 2 diving catches, but he feels fine the next day. But then the club looks at their stuff and they go, you know what, George, your body needs to rest. And that's just where we're going.
Which, I mean, to me, there needs to be some kind, and I'm sure if they're not there will be some kind of middle ground.
Right.
Because I can tell you, there were times when when I was out there and I was shoving and I was getting dudes out, I wanted to pitch every day.
Yeah.
And same thing with a hitter. When a hitter, even, you know what, my left knee is kind of barking a little bit, but I just went 3 for 4 yesterday with 2 jacks. I'm going to be in the lineup tomorrow. I'm seeing the ball well. If I hit the ball out of the ballpark, I don't have to run so hard. So,
well, gone are the days of Kirk Gibson limping to the plate and hitting a home run with literally one arm and one leg in a World Series, right?
Yep. Hey, you know what, though? That was a data home run.
That's true.
That was a data home
That's
run.
why he was in there.
In that situation, he sold out on a backdoor slider.
Yeah.
It was from Dennis Eckersley, that whatever the count was, it's 2-2, whatever. I don't remember what the count was, but in that situation, like 90% of the time he threw a backdoor slider.
Wow.
And Gibson sold out and bought what Eckersley was selling, and the rest was history.
They were baseball savants before Baseball Savant was a website, before there was even the internet.
That's right. And I think it was a scout in the stands that came up with that stat. Somebody that had been watching Eckersley, and because advanced scouting was used to be done in person.
Right.
Then it was done on television. Now it's done by computer. But just charting every pitch that Eckersley threw. He goes, he is going to throw a backdoor slider to a left-hander in this situation. And Gibby hit it.
Definitely. Mike, this has been a great first showing for Mike's Mechanics. They did just announce the June players of the month for the Houston Astros. The upper level is Ray Gaither, right-handed pitcher at 0.63 ERA, 17 strikeouts in 14 innings. And then Bryce Mayer, who I've heard a little bit about, 3.32 ERA, plays for the Asheville Tourists, 23 Ks in 19 innings. He's a relief pitcher. So the pipeline is still full of pitching prospects. So y'all make sure you tune in to Wheelhouse Media Company. Make sure you watch Houston Sports Download. Make sure you check out Back to the Bullpen. We come up here twice a week to talk baseball, and who to better to get to talk baseball with than Mike Stanton, the 3-time World Series champion. Don't let him undersell himself. He is one of the best relief pitchers of our lifetime. Mike, thank you so much for joining us, man. I appreciate you.
Hey, that was fun. Get the word out about Back to the Bullpen. Tell your friends, tell your family. You need to get in touch with us. You can see there at the bottom. That's our Twitter handles. So hey, let's get this thing going.
And, I got the Rams shirts, Houston is Inevitable shirt. So y'all can go get those today.
You can also
get Back to the Bullpen. So y'all have a good one. And as always, go.
Wait, hold on. What about your hair? Where do you get your haircut?
Oh, I get my haircut at state-of-the-art barbershop where I'm days away from.
He's tight right now.
Yeah, man. I was going to go for the mullet and I took off my hat and I kind of look like a serial killer. So my barber's like, bro, we are not going that direction.
That's out.
You are done.
You know what Everett said? You're representing me.
That's right. That's right. Mike's like, no, I don't do a show with that guy. Y'all have a good one. And as always, go Stros.
Adios.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well